Hi there, welcome to Floating in Dreams. Today's video is going to be my top 10 Halloween palettes. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. Today's video is going to be an overview of 10 eyeshadow palettes that I think are going to be perfect for a last minute Halloween look. If you happen to lie these around and you're still undecided, I'm sure there are lots of parties going on this weekend. I'm personally not attending anything because Halloween is just not really a thing where I live. But I thought, I've never done a video like this before, and I had figured out that within my planning I was missing a video this month. I was like, why not talk about Halloween eyeshadow palettes? And that's what I have for you today. Before we get into the video, hi, my name is Maaike. I live in the Netherlands. I have fair skin with a cool undertone, and this greatly influences my makeup preferences. I have been reviewing makeup for more than a decade. I love my eyeshadow palettes, Sézane, Catrice, and getting the use out of my makeup. So I hope you would like to consider subscribing by clicking the button down below. So yes, 10 Halloween themed eyeshadow palettes that were not particularly released for Halloween. Like, these were sometimes limited edition, but I just thought, you know what, with Halloween, like, some people take like a year to plan these things, but I know there's lots of people here who just want to like do something last minute. And maybe if you have one of these palettes lying about, and maybe you've never looked at these color stories in a way that makes you go, oh yeah, that could be a good Halloween kind of look for me, then maybe this can be helpful. Let me just get down to it. This is in no particular order. I'm not sure if this is still available, but the Colourpop smoke show, now called Blowin Smoke, I think is perfect for Halloween and doing spooky things. Because it's essentially grays. I did switch out 2 shades. The blue is not original to the palette, as is this black glitter, but overall, what this palette has on offer, even if you buy it straight from the shelf, I think can be perfect for Halloween time, because it's essentially all the dead shades you need. Yeah, if you want something like that's a little bit spooky, if you're gonna be a skull, anything sort of mummy related, vampire-esque, I think this palette has everything you need. The black shimmer that I added was from the V Cosmetics Grimoire, which is another great palette if you do happen to own that for Halloween. I decluttered mine because it had pressed glitters and it wasn't really perfect, but that black glittery shade was always a standout, so I'm very glad I was able to salvage it. If I were to do a spooky look myself, I would probably opt for a palette like this, so that's why I had to feature it here. But that one's pretty plain when it comes to the gray tones that we get in it, so if you want to spice it up just a little bit, think of a gray with a red, and we're seeing quite a few of these color stories being launched. Glamlight now has like 3 sort of spooky themed gray and red color stories, it seems, but I have the Waiting Room from Melt. This was a limited edition a couple of years ago in a collaboration with Beetlejuice, and this has been my gray and red palette of choice. It's got a really nice sort of like blood red, so again, if you're going for like blood stains on your face or something vampire-esque, I think this can be really lovely. Plus, together with the black, you can really sort of like do these plummy, berry, smoky eyes that you saw in like the Flapper Girl area. So if you want to do like a spooky Flapper Girl look, this palette is going to see you through as well. So I just had to mention it because I think these kind of shades for Halloween are going to be perfect. You also get like a bright red shimmer in here, something that leans a little bit more berry. It just has everything you need for a spooky look. Speaking of reds and berries, I have to be pretty careful with this one because I took these shades out myself and reorganized the palette, but taking them out has made some of them a little bit fragile, so I hope they don't break as I hold up the palette. But what I'm talking about is my reorganized ABH palette. I put this together from several ABH palettes that I used to own, but the palettes, like the shades I want to point out, and a palette that I think most people own, are these berries and reds from the Modern Renaissance. If you still have your Modern Renaissance and you didn't break it apart like I did, These shades from the Modern Renaissance are some of my favorites for creating a berry smoky eye, which again, if I think of the kind of looks that I would want to do if I were invited to a Halloween party, it would be like a berry smoky eye if you want to go for something a bit more glam. So if you don't want to go full on character, but you just want something that's still pretty and like makeup-y, then I think a berry smoky eye for fall is a staple in my arsenal, you could say, but I think it's especially pretty for doing a look like that for Halloween. So ABH Modern Renaissance, but going into those shades that most people were always skipping, which ended up being my favorites from the palette, and also like the dark browns that are in there. I think you can create a really, really stunning look out of all of those shades and just have something that's a little bit more glam heavy. But I think my ultimate Halloween palette is one of the grungiest color stories that was ever done, and it's the Meld Muerte. They bring this back from time to time. It was back over the summertime again. But this is just a stunning palette. There are color stories on the market by now that are a little bit similar. The new Fantasy Cosmetica Warlock reminds me a lot of what this palette has to offer. The shades aren't 100% like exact, but I definitely think that this kind of like reds, like the plummy reds with the dark navies and like these brighter greens, is something you can find elsewhere nowadays as well. So you don't necessarily need it, but I do know a lot of people have this palette, especially because they brought it back, and I know some of my viewers have repurchased this or purchased it in the later restocks that they did. Mine is from the original release, you could say, but I think this is perfect for Halloween. You can do sort of like your colorful skull look with this, but again, a navy smoky eye if you want to sort of go for that. But this is also essentially what you need to create bruises on yourself with like the blues and the reds. If you have like a yellow, mustardy yellow lying about, then you can mix in that as well. So this is great for your like zombie, mummy, sort of gruesome horror kind of looks as well. I think this can be stunning, and if you do own this palette, then it's one of the best ones, I think, for whipping up a last-minute Halloween look, whether you want to go full-on glam or whether you want to go more so for the spooky side of things. And a personal favorite of mine that is sadly unavailable, but again, I think a lot of people still own this. If you still have your Naked Smoky from Urban Decay, definitely consider it for Halloween. It's again going to give you some more neutrally options, but you get all of these really nice smoky things. You get these like charcoal gray things that I think are stunning for doing a more glam Halloween vibe look. I think that if no matter the character you're dressing up as, if it requires a full face of makeup, then this palette is just going to be able to do it all. You have enough shades, again, to create hollows into your cheeks, but you can glam it up with some of the shimmers you get on this side of the palette. So if this is a palette you still own, I think it is another really good one for a Halloween-based look. But we have to mention indie brands as well, because they do some really great things for Halloween as well. None of the palettes I have, though, are Halloween releases. I definitely wanted to stay away from palettes that were sort of like haunted or pumpkin themed, even though some of the brands I'm about to show you do have those palettes as well in their lineups. But I feel that you can very easily do a Halloween look without buying something particularly for Halloween. And that's why I wanted to do this video as well, because I'm like, I see everybody doing these very creative Halloween looks, which are stunning, but I don't think you need to go out and buy the Halloween releases that we're seeing from brands just because it's Halloween. I think that if you dig through your own makeup collection, you're gonna find it. And I think one of the best ones for a Halloween themed look is by Unearthly, and it's their Lore palette. This is stunning of its own accord. You can do very neutral looks with this as well. But if you wanna go for that like pumpkin orange vibe, this has everything. It also has the yellow that you can like rope in with the Muerte to create a more bruised look as well. This can just take you in so many different directions. This can be great for an everyday look as well. So if you want to sort of like do your makeup on like a work day and then like use this palette again later at night to build up your look and to create it into something more Halloween appropriate, then I think this can work as well. It just has, again, a lot of the colors that I think you're gonna need for a more Halloween based look. But you can keep it very basic and neutral if you like put the orange in the crease and blend it out with the yellow and then putting the bronze all over the lid and put it in black on as liner. You have a really great look for just throughout the workday, but then you can amp it up with some of the other shades here to have a bit of fun and to create a look that may go with your outfit really nicely as well. So this is a very transformative palette. I think that if you have this, and you want to do more creative looks for things like Halloween or like any sort of like dress up party, then I think you can be you can have a lot of fun with this one. This is definitely a staple in my collection. I really love the quality of an Earthly, and I have a couple of palettes by them that I rate very highly. Another brand, I already mentioned them just now, but I don't own the Warlock palette just yet. I don't have my hands on it. It is on Monolith. I did place an order for it, but I decided to buy some other things that are on back order, so it's gonna take 2 or 3 weeks for that order to come my way. But I think any of the Fantasy Cosmetica palettes that they do as their 9 pans can be really stunning for a Halloween option. I'm just holding up my current favorite. This is the Rogue, and I think this is stunning. It has sort of like your blues, greens, and your purples. Fantasy Cosmetica does some really amazing shimmers. Their blacks are always on point, so this is going to be great for if you want to do something a little bit more colorful, but they have a lot of grungy color stories as well, like the Warlock that is new or the Druid. I also own the Fighter palette, which is a little bit more warm tone neutral. I think that Fantasy Cosmetica can really be bang on, especially if you want to turn yourself into like a particular character. Like this is, again, like if you want to turn into a zombie or something like that, this can work as well. But also if you want to go more fairy tale like, if you want to go fairy or Peter Pan like, then I think this is gonna be a good one as well. And finally, I think another great brand to look into if you're looking for color stories that are perfect for Halloween and that you may already own is Shroud Cosmetics. Now, I very deliberately didn't bring upstairs my It's Freakin' Bats, which they did in collaboration with Betty Bean, or the Creepy Cute, because I think those are very obvious when it comes to like Halloween sort of color stories. But the newly released Moonfall that came out earlier in the year, I think is stunning for this time of year as well. Like if you're looking for really rich, saturated shimmers and things that can really create a really great look that is perhaps a little bit more glam. But again, these colors I think are perfect for your Halloween looks. Again, you have your like whimsical shimmers in here, so it can go with a lot of the more whimsical outfits you can do. You can turn yourself into an evil stepmother, a zombie, a mummy, whatever. A wicked witch, I think you can do with this as well. It has all of the shades that you could possibly need to create a really good look for Halloween. Okay, so I forgot to put this one in, so I'm terribly sorry, but I'm showing it to you like this. This is the LA Splash Classic Horror, and it doesn't get any more perfect than this when it comes to a Halloween palette, I think, because this is the outer packaging, and it has all these, like, zombie ladies on it. I've always loved the packaging here, and this is also quite colorful because it has the rainbow packaging here, like the holographic packaging, and then it's like a full-on rainbow. This way you can see the colors a bit better. It's very rainy today, so I'm terribly sorry. I had much better lighting when I initially sat down to film the video, but yeah. I think this is perfect for Halloween as well. It is bright and colorful, but all of these shades have this murky undertone that make it perfect for Halloween, so I didn't want you to miss out on this one, so that's why I'm very quickly adding this in after work. I'm terribly sorry for not showing you this in a more aesthetically pleasing way, but yeah. That's the LA Splash Classic Horror, which I think is a perfect Halloween palette. I just hope this video shows you that if you dig through your own makeup collection, you probably have the shades you need to create a really fun look for Halloween. If you are going to any parties this weekend, then I hope you got some inspiration out of this. You definitely do not have to go out and buy specific Halloween themed color stories just because brands put them out. This is definitely something we've been seeing in recent years, and that's why I wanted to make sure I featured palettes here that weren't necessarily Halloween themed. Maybe the Melt Beetlejuice Waiting Room one, the one with the grays and the reds. I think that was released around Halloween time, but that was released at a time when not that many brands had dedicated Halloween collections. And I definitely don't think we need a particular Halloween collection to be able to create Halloween-based looks. I definitely don't think you do. So have a dig around your own personal makeup collection to see what you have lying about and create your outfit, your character, whatever you want to do based on what you have, rather than having to go out and buy things just because. Whenever I've been to like dress up parties, I've always just had a mooch around my wardrobe and my makeup collection and base my look off of that, and it usually was very successful. So without further ado, I really hope you enjoyed watching this video today. Thumbs up the video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more by me. I make several videos every single week. I love chatting about eyeshadow palettes, so that's my main bread and butter here. So if you'd like to stick around, and then I hope to see you in my next one. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye!